And so now we're going to go ahead and move on to our second presenter. And our second presenter is from Stomping Ground. Stomping Ground Comedy Theater is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Their mission is to educate, entertain, and empower the community, connecting people through comedy. And they won't stop till everybody's laughing. Lindsay Goldapp is the co-founder and artistic director of Stomping Ground Comedy. Her goal is for Stomping Ground to create laughter and community while saving the world with improv comedy. Lindsay holds a BS in acting and directing from Texas A&M University Commerce and is a graduate of Chicago's Second City Improv Conservatory. She has over 15 years of experience performing and teaching improv, sketch writing, comedic songwriting, improvised song, team building, and musical theater. Andrea Baum is the co-founder and Improv for Life director of Stomping Ground. She has designed and created Improv for Life, a series of therapeutic improv classes and workshops for several unique needs populations. Andrea's mission within Stomping Ground is to connect with local and national nonprofits and organizations to spread the healing power of improv and create custom interactive programming for any group's needs. She is a licensed professional counselor and certified positive discipline educator with experience working with children, parents, adults, and people with brain injury, dementia, Alzheimer's, as well as caregivers. Lindsay and Andrea are here with us today to teach us about their Improv for Caregivers workshop and share how we can use improvisational comedy to have a better roadmap in communicating with our loved ones with Alzheimer's and related dementia. So I am excited about this one. I've actually participated in their workshops before, and they really do give a lot of good information. So we're going to go ahead and welcome Lindsay and Andrea. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for our presentation here. How is everyone?
While we're doing that, can you hear us?
Yes.
Do we like thumbs up? I can't see anyone. I don't know. Good, thank you.
Okay, great.
I'm like chugging coffee now because Kira and Portia got us so relaxed.
I know, that was amazing. Thank you, Kira and Portia.
When you were doing their intro, Veronica, you started and you were like, these two are the most chill. And I was confused. I was like, wait, is she talking about us? Because we are not chill. we are the least chill. So thank you, Kira and Portia. That was incredible. And now we're gonna unchill for a second. Talk about some comedy stuff.
Yeah. Before we begin our presentation on Improv for Caregivers, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation. They're the ones that brought us here today. We're so grateful to them and all the hard work that they're doing. We know that the number of Americans living with Alzheimer's disease is increasing, and there's no known cure. The Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation is a nonprofit organization, and they're committed to supporting their member sites with the goal of reducing the time and cost of Alzheimer's disease clinical trials. So we're lucky to have we actually have two GAP research sites here in Dallas, and they're doing this important work. So right here, if any of you are interested, I highly encourage you to join the fight against Alzheimer's research and reach out to these sites if you're interested in getting involved with clinical trials. Some amazing work is being done. We're just so grateful for GAP's generous support today, for bringing us here and sponsoring this segment to bring to you guys. So thank you so much. And I will also bring this back at the end so you can have this information.
Yeah, these are places where you could be part of these research studies and help find a cure. So hi. So Veronica already introduced us. Andrea, do we need to dig into who we are any more than that?
No, I mean, I think that
we'll be sharing over the course of this.
I just want to share that we this program, Improv for Caregivers, is something that is near and dear to my heart. My father has dementia and Alzheimer's. He actually got a brain injury when I was 15 years old, and then he started showing signs of early dementia. So I'm a caregiver to my father. Our whole family is, and we have been dealing with the stressors for quite some time now, 17 or 18 years now. So when I was having a lot of, stress when we were communicating and interacting and caring for my father. It's very stressful, frustrating. A lot of anger comes up, frustration, stress, and I was doing improv for fun, and I found out that you can use improv to have more joyous relationship, a more joyous relationship with when you're caring for a person with Alzheimer's or dementia. And so when I learned about this and I started using these techniques and these skills that we're going to be talking to you about today, it really transformed the way that I was interacting with my father. But the biggest takeaway was I felt a lot less stressed, and I felt a lot more calm in my interactions. So Lindsay and I came together and we decided we needed to give this to the world. And unfortunately we can't be there in person like we wanted to be there, a few months ago. And this is a really interactive workshop. So usually we have people face to face and we interact with one another, and we're doing these experiential activities that we're going to tell you all about. And so today we're going to be telling you about them and telling you why improv is so useful. And then we'll give you some techniques to use at the end and show you. But this is also an interactive workshop that if you ever want to be a part of it, you can be. We actually have free online workshops that we are providing to the community that are funded by Aware. And we will give you more information about that later too. So
we want you to be able to experience the full experiential workshop in the future when we'll be together in a room.
Yeah.
Or online. So we do want to provide that to you. But today we're going to give you some tools and snapshots of it.
Yes. So improv for caregivers is an experiential learning workshop. We use improv comedy, and usually it can be anywhere from an hour to 4 hours long, depending what the needs are of the group, or we revisit groups too and continue with this education. So
so if you're sitting at home wondering, okay, they keep saying improv and they keep saying improv comedy, what are they talking about? So some of you may have experience with it and some of you may not. It's a form of live theater where everything is made up in the moment. So improvisers take a suggestion from the audience and they use it as an inspiration. You may have seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? That's a very ubiquitous example of what improv comedy is. Or maybe you've been to a show, and that is what improv is. And we're going to dig a little bit into that more later. But first, let's kind of talk about what that means for you. So let's go to our next slide, Andrea. Oh, this is a baby laughing at really good improv comedy. And
it's a really funny show.
Yes, where the improvisers did a really great job and they cracked everybody up, and this baby loved it. That baby is that is an example of a baby that is watching really not good improv comedy, where the improvisers didn't sort of follow the tools that they were given to be a great improviser. So I'm so sorry, baby. But here's the thing about it. It's not actually doing the improv on stage and performing for people that is the most valuable thing about improv. It's actually the process of learning improv that is valuable and can be valuable to you as a caregiver. So these are the things on your screen that improv can teach you to do. Here's a few of them. They can teach you active listening, communication skills, creative expression, collaboration, adaptability, authenticity. And they can also teach you a few other things.
Sorry.
All of these things. And there is data and research to back this up. These are all the things that improv can teach you. The process of learning improv can teach you. It's really incredible. And we know that a lot of people don't know about it. It's sort of a niche thing. So that's why we're out here trying to tell the world, hey, learning this little skill can teach you all of these amazing things.
Yeah, so why are these skills important? People take improv classes for a lot of different reasons, not just to be performers, but it really helps us to uh, build up on these interpersonal skills that we don't really ever get taught. We don't actually learn these skills. And so it's a way to practice them, and it helps us. These soft skills are things that help us connect and build rapport, create trust, things that we can work together. Um, One of the things that what improv really helps us do is to listen and to respond. Um, you, when Lindsay was talking about good improv versus bad improv, if you're listening really well in a scene when you're watching this live comedy, if the performers are listening really well, something really amazing is going to happen on the screen because they're all working together and they're stepping into each other's world. But if they're not listening and they're kind of on their own page, that's when it turns into bad improv, which is like human relationships too. If we're not listening, we're learning a lot about that right now too. If we're not listening, we're not there really hearing people, then the relationship suffers from that too. So these are really very, very important skills. Lindsay, do you want to talk a little bit about practicing these skills versus?
Yeah, so it's one thing for us to give you a pamphlet or do a PowerPoint that says, hey, you need to practice your communication skills and listen more and connect and cooperate. These are things that you've probably been hearing your whole life. As adults, we hear communication, collaboration, these sort of like buzz, it's like kind of corporate words too. And we think to ourselves, yeah, I've been hearing that I need to communicate better my whole life. But it's another thing to really practice them and know that these are things we're going to work our whole lives to master. And I like to, for people, I like to equate it to, an NBA player isn't born being able to shoot a free throw. And they also don't stop working on it just because they've hit the NBA or the WNBA level. They are going to keep practicing their free throw because these are things you have to keep practicing. And we feel the same way about communication and all these soft skills. You have to keep practicing them even when you're an adult, because they are tough, and we use them every single day. That's why people will bring us into big corporations to teach them how to cooperate and collaborate better. And because adults, not all adults have mastered these things, and they're very hard to master. So that's why we created this experiential workshop where we don't just give you a pamphlet and tell you, hey, communicate better, listen better. We let you practice those things in an environment that feels safe and you don't feel weird and put on the spot.
Yeah, and when someone is, someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, they're always changing. So the person we really have to be there and be in the moment, really listening and connecting, to be able to, one day might be so different than another. And so to really sit there, listen, and respond is so important for us to be able to even diffuse difficult behaviors. Because if we have our own agenda, then or if we're just kind of going through life so quickly and dealing with our own stressors, and we're not just sitting and listening, it can be really stressful for the caregiver. It's stressful for our loved one, but it's also it in turn becomes stressful for us. So just taking those moments, like what Kira was teaching us, and being able to just be mindful, stay in the moment, is a lot of what we learn with improv. And it also when you are able to show someone that you're listening and you can validate them, we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But these are skills that some people weren't doing this before their loved one had Alzheimer's and dementia, or got the diagnosis, and so they weren't doing this together, which a lot of couples don't do this. A lot of parents and children aren't doing this. And so we're also teaching to build back this great relationship too, which it's never too late to do that. Never too late.
Never too late.
Yeah. So when we are doing these workshops, the reason that, and we hope that we get to see some of you in the actual interactive piece when we are offering these throughout this year, because when we have a when we're able to actually learn through experience, we're able to use it differently, like Lindsay was describing. So this is an experiential learning model. So I'm going to explain this a little bit about how with the improv for caregivers, when we have we create a new experience, and maybe it's a reinterpretation of an experience you've already had. And we play these kind of like games and these interactive activities to show the participants that we can look at things in a different way. And so then there's reflective observation. We sit back and we say, so how did that feel? What came up for you all? What did you notice? And that is when we start to connect the dots because we experienced something. That's when we can have this active experimentation where you start to apply that to your real life. And then we encourage, the abstract conceptualization is when we encourage you to use these. You feel more encouraged to actually practice these things in your real life because you just got to practice them within this setting that we created. So that's a little bit of how that can be so helpful. So now we want to tell you a little bit about like how do we actually use improv? How do we use these skills? So Lindsay, can you talk a little bit about yes and just the concept of yes and in improv first?
So the core principle of improv comedy, and when we're learning it and we're learning to create these fun, funny scenes on stage, is we use the concept of yes and. And what that means is when a performer steps out on stage and they establish a world, they say, Mom, I really don't want to go to school today. Then the next person that comes out needs to say yes to the world that has been established. They need to say, oh, honey, you have to go to school. They don't want to say, what are you talking about, school? I'm your therapist. They want to say yes to the world that's been created. And then they want to build upon it. They want to say yes, and you are going to be the best student in class. So that core principle of saying yes and is something that is what improv is built upon, and it's how we create fun and funny scenes. So that's how it works in improv comedy. But how does it work for you as a caregiver is what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, so if we were all doing this workshop, we'd be practicing all like really fun yes and things right now. But we'll tell you what this teaches. And when it used to actually be thought that it's important to reality check our loved ones. So our loved ones, their mind is always changing. They might forget something one day, remember it the next, or there's a lot just going on within their world. And so it used to be thought that we should reality check to correct that. But we now know that people with dementia and Alzheimer's we're not going to be teaching. We're not having teachable moments where they can relearn or remind them. So when things happen like, they put the peanut butter in the refrigerator instead of the pantry, when we tell the person that's not where it goes in here, it can be, and I know it can be so hard for us as caregivers to see our loved ones not remembering things like that. And it can get even more stressful and frustrating when we're correcting and feeling like there's that opportunity for growth and learning. And it can be a grieving process, of course, to know that that's not there. But when we continue to reality check, it becomes more stressful for us as caregivers that there's no change. And so what we can do is just kind of step into their world and yes and a lot of the things that they're saying and they're doing. And when you say yes, it's that you don't negate it. It's that you're validating their world. So the peanut butter goes in the refrigerator. Oh, that's a interesting place to put the peanut butter. I never thought of it that way. and to, instead of correcting. So we want to give you an example. I want to give you a personal example of when something that I use that really, like, when we started doing this in my family or with my relationship with my father, it really clicked and changed a lot of things. It was the first time I used improv. My father was not allowed to drive, or is not allowed to drive, and we had to take his keys away from him and get rid of his car. I know that all of you have probably, or a lot of you have probably had similar experiences or know that that's going to happen at some point. And it was really hard because his freedom was taken away, and he was, but he really wasn't able to drive anymore. And so we used to get into a lot of like frustration and disagreements were happening. So I kind of want to show you, like, role play a little bit with Lindsay of what the conversation was looking like when I was reality checking, and my frustration was growing in those conversations. And this conversation that Lindsay and I are about to kind of role play probably happened 100 times, and it kept going in this direction. So Lindsay's going to play my father in this situation, and then I'm going to play myself. Does that sound good, Lindsay?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
getting into my character here. I know him. Andrea, I want to drive. I want to go get in the car, and I want to drive somewhere.
Okay, well, I mean, I can take you somewhere, but you're not driving. So just know that, because we've already discussed this and you can't drive.
But I'm such a good driver, and I just want to, I want to feel that steering wheel in my hand again.
You used to be a good driver, and the doctors are telling you now that you cannot drive. You could get
I am a good driver. I am a good driver now, and I want to get in the car now. Let's go.
You could hurt someone.
I'm not going to hurt someone. I want to get in the car right now and go.
But if you did hurt someone because you have Alzheimer's, if you hurt someone, then that would be on our entire family, and the doctor said you cannot drive. The doctor said this. Do you want me to call the doctor right now?
No, don't call the doctor right now. I could call the doctor right now. I could do that myself. I'm a good driver, and I could drive to the doctor's office right now myself. I'm not going to kill anyone. You're being crazy right now.
No, you're being crazy. Okay, so that's usually what it would look like. And there was
escalates.
And you guys, it was really stressful because my husband works at a car dealership, and so he just wanted to go get a car constantly. Like, let's go to David's work, and let's go get my driver's license. So all those things were coming up.
And maybe that's a similar situation to what you're experiencing or have experienced. Or map that onto something else, like they want to go shopping or they want to leave, or that's probably feels familiar.
Mm-hmm.
That escalation of those feelings.
Yes, and then what happens is I get frustrated, and I'm not really listening to what with what he's saying. And the third thing on this PowerPoint is to connect and validate. Validating is so important. I think it is extremely important to validate how the person is feeling. And that doesn't mean that...
Hear the feeling, acknowledge it, confirm that you're feeling the right thing. I understand that you're feeling this. And that's not to say that feeling is correct or incorrect, because feelings are feelings. They're not wrong or right, but it's just to say, I hear the feeling. And that's so important for people.
Right. So many times,
not just people with Alzheimer's and dementia.
It's everyone, guys. Everybody wants to feel validated. But in a situation where someone feels like all of their freedoms are being taken away, and maybe they feel lonely, or maybe they feel, so many different feelings are coming up. Sometimes we feel like if we validate this, we're gonna magnify it. We're gonna give attention to it, and it's gonna make it bigger. No, that's not what happens. So when we validate, we can let someone feel heard, and that helps them feel comforted that someone understands them. And also just being comfortable, for us to just be comfortable that they're in a hard place, and to understand that is so important to them. It's okay for you both to be, feeling sad about something, and you don't have to make it better or tell them why they shouldn't feel that way. So in this situation specifically, how do you yes and somebody wanting to drive a car? Because you can't say, yes, let's go get a car. So we have to get creative about it. And that's where this workshop, we help to like get people in a creative mindset, doing creative activities so we can think about how we can do that. But we'll show you, go on.
Yes and isn't a perfect science where you can just immediately say, yes, you can drive a car and let's go.
Yes.
We have to be a little more creative than that. Now, some situations you can really easily yes and. If they say, my grandmother used to say, I worked for Smith Detective Agency in downtown Dallas. And, that one is a little bit easier, a little more straightforward. I could say, you did. I would love to hear about your cases. That's so interesting. That's a safe thing I can yes and I can step into her world. But this one that Andrea described with her dad's a little more complicated because we want to keep them safe and you want to keep your loved ones safe. So Andrea, are we gonna show them how we can yes and this?
Sure. So this is exactly how I did it and how it would go. And I remember just thinking, like, how did I not have this magic trick for 10 years ago? Okay, so
we're going to show you the same scenario where I'm going to play Andrea's dad, and Andrea's going to be herself, and she's going to yes and him in a very creative and unique way in that same scenario. And this is how it would go, right, Andrea?
Yeah, this is exactly how it would go. Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to drive today. Can you get my keys? I want to drive today.
Okay, I know you really want to go somewhere. We could go, if you could go anywhere, where would you go?
Ooh, I would go to Cyprus.
If we went there.
Where I'm from, I'm from Cyprus, and yes. I would go to Cyprus, and it's so beautiful there.
I know.
So let's get in my car and let's drive.
What if you could have any car in the world, like money was not an issue.
Okay.
What kind of car would you have?
Oh, I would have a Corvette.
What color?
Oh, it would be a beautiful red Corvette. Not something new,
there's a song about that.
What? There's a song about a red Corvette?
Do you want to listen to it?
Yeah, I would love to hear the song about the red Corvette.
Okay, so that's kind of how, we would just talk about different things. And in that situation, I'm redirecting in a way too. So I've acknowledged that he wants to drive. I don't have, you can tell, in my heart, there's not this pressure and anger and angst when I'm having the conversation. And that was gone for me. It was incredible because I felt all the tension. Oh, this question's coming up again and I'm gonna have to explain it. And so now when that question comes up, I feel so much more prepared and this new roadmap of communication that I can use. So there's a lot of, usually we get a lot of different questions of how do you yes and this? How do you yes and that? And there's no right way to do it. And I always tell people, number one, you want to keep the person safe, right? So you don't want to yes and something that would be very unsafe, obviously. And then two, just really get creative with it and try it out. Maybe it doesn't work. That's okay. Try something else out. It can be so powerful to get to use that.
And create more joy and more positive feelings in your relationship instead of arguing and feeling frustrated, and then that leads to can lead to difficult behaviors and
yes, which are frustrating for the caregiver too. I think that you go into a direction with the conversation that you would have never gone. Then you're listening to Prince with your dad. I mean, that I didn't think that was going to happen. So so yeah, and it's important to really step into their world. So we do this activity within our workshop to really show that our loved ones, when they're trying to do just a simple task like tying their shoes, they're getting so many different sensory input. They're getting really overstimulated with things that we don't realize are overstimulating, like us asking them, like, hurry up, we gotta go, or
Pattern on the carpet.
the pattern on the carpet can be overstimulating.
Music in the background.
Yes. Or maybe they're used to being in the living room, and that's where they spend most of their time, and now they're in the kitchen putting their shoes on. That can completely disorient a person because the room or the space is different. And so that's one of those activities that when you're in it, you really get it. It's kind of an aha moment. But we're here to tell you to, like, just being mindful that it can be really, we encourage you to take that into account when you're with your loved one, because that can help us to be calmer in a way so difficult behaviors don't arise.
And when we're in our live workshop, what we get to do is we get to let you practice yes and in a way that doesn't feel weird and on the spot, and you don't feel like you're having to be an actor on stage. But we practice together, and then we get to practice and talk about some individual situations that our caregivers have. And we've heard some really, really interesting stories over the years that we've been doing this. And what we do is we help our caregivers kind of brainstorm, tell us those scenarios, and then we all kind of brainstorm together. How could we yes and that? Andrea, can I tell them I know we're getting close to, not close, we're past our time. But we've had some really interesting stories of yes anding. And a great example, sometimes we teach people, we help educate people who actually work in facilities, memory care facilities. And we heard this great story about a worker in a memory care facility a woman with Alzheimer's came to her, and she said, and she was just really hyper focused on how someone was coming in there and they were stealing her underwear. They were stealing her underwear, and it was unacceptable, and she was angry about it every day and fixated. And sometimes our loved ones can get really fixated on something, like Andrea's dad gets fixated on the car. And they had tried telling her, like, no one's coming in here and stealing an elderly lady's underwear. That's no. And then one day she decided to say, you know what? Yes, I hear you that someone was stealing her underwear. And so what we did was we investigated, and we found the person who was stealing your underwear, and we got rid of them. And she never brought it up again. And I know that your mind may go down the road of, well, then is she going to ask me who it was? And is she going to, what's going to happen after that? Again, it's not a perfect science, and you may find yourself having to navigate some things. But that's why we let you and help you practice these things and getting into that creative mind space of how can I have these conversations and how can I validate and sort of pretend and step into the world of my loved one, because that is their world. And you're not going to change that being their world. That is the one thing you cannot change.
That's so true. And, sometimes people say, well, is this lying? And it is it's a way to, if you are negating their world, to them, it feels like a lie. That feels like you are telling them that the world that they 1000% perceive that is happening is not real. And so that's part of reality checking. So to step into their world can help them to be a lot calmer. Now we have 5 more minutes, Lindsay. We have 5 more minutes, and I just wanted to quickly say a couple of things about mindfulness. Kira talked I love the meditation, and a quick thing that you can do with yourself is and your loved one is to redirect using mindfulness. So what about these cases where your loved one is really upset, yelling even, or just aggressive even? Always keep yourself safe, but you can do something so simple by just going outside and redirecting to a different part of the house, or outside is really great because there's so much nature to look at and it really grounds us. And just have them talk about things that they see. You can say 5 things that you see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste, and you can just do that by either going down that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or you can just say, what's your favorite thing out here? What's your favorite color that you're seeing out here? And ask questions. And what that does, like Kira was telling us, is it calms the nervous system, and it helps their brain to see that there's no threat in their environment, because they're
bringing in new sensory information into their brain.
Brings new data into their brain through their senses.
And this works for all of us. I mean, I've done it. People do it when they're having panic attacks or feeling anxiety. I've done it in a Walmart parking lot. I've looked around and I've said, what shapes do I see? And Andrea and I use it with our children. When my child is upset, and Andrea actually taught me that tip, that when my child is upset, I'll say, oh, feel this. What do you feel? This blanket? It feels really soft and snuggly. And he's bringing in that new information, and it helps calm him down. I don't try to talk him out of his feelings. I just say, do you feel that? I just give him some new information. So this works with us, and it's great for our loved ones too.
Yeah. So we have the Aware Foundation has funded a program called this Improv for Caregivers program. And so we just received the funding. We're so excited. Thank you to Aware. We are starting that soon. I mean, now. And you can.
We saw that over the past 3 years, we've been doing these, and we were like, but our caregivers need these for free. They have so much on their plate, and they have so much that they're spending on, and we need to give this to them for free. And Aware was really wonderful to say, yeah, you're right. We do. Yes, let's give this to them for free. So we're really excited to give these to you for free now.
Yeah. So we can actually come virtually to your support group, and we can do this. So invite us. This is for Dallas and Collin County support groups. And then we also have opportunities to register for ones that we are holding. The next ones are June 25th and July 30th. More information, email me for more information at andrea@stompinggroundcomedy.org. And I will also leave this up here too, if anybody wants information. Thank you again to the Global Alzheimer's platform. Here are these websites that you can all be part of the research too. So I'm going to actually stop sharing the screen now for the Q&A. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. That was really good. Thank you. I actually am familiar with Stomping Ground from a couple years back when I first became a caregiver, and I saw their workshop, and like she said, there used to be a charge for the workshop. And so I'm so excited that people will get to experience this now for free, because it's just a wonderful thing. You only got to kind of see a taste of it today, but just imagine the full workshop, especially in person. And I'm not sure when we'll be able to do it in person, but these techniques and these strategies that they give are really helpful and really effective in dealing with our loved ones. So I just want to say thank you, ladies, for providing that information.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions, so I'll go ahead and get started with those. The first one is, why do you think these techniques work so well?
I really think it's because it's these interpersonal skills that are so important. And I think the listening component, and that you're connecting with your loved one. I think that when someone feels like you're connected to them, can be so scary for people with Alzheimer's too, where they feel like there's unfamiliar faces around. So the more you can connect and help them to feel comfortable and safe and heard, you'll have a lot less difficult behaviors, and also feel less stress yourself too.
Okay. So what, I know you gave a couple examples. Do you have any other examples of caregivers using these techniques?
Ooh. Offhand.
So one example that I use for redirecting, and it's just so random, was that I would say to my dad, after I heard him, and if it was going to be something that he was really frustrated with, you know, I said, like, I know that sounds really hard. I know that you feel that way. And then I knew from history that he would stay fixated on it. And I would just completely change the subject to something that I knew that he loved. My dad loves food. And so I would say, would you like chicken or turkey better? And it's just my go-to question. And I told that story once in a workshop, and I got an email back from this family that said, there's been an issue within our family that our mother gets really, really fixated on. And I did the chicken or turkey thing, and it was crazy how quickly it worked, and that we didn't go down this rabbit hole that we usually do, because we gave new information to focus on in that moment.
Another thing that I know we've heard is the our loved ones wanting to leave, and like, I want to leave. I'm at this facility. I want to leave. I want to go. And a lot of the redirecting that we'll do in examples in those scenarios are like, what's your favorite thing about home? What's your favorite thing at home? And they'll be like, oh, I have this blanket that I love to cuddle in. So really, that's sort of a unique yes and, right? Because you can't say yes and let's go. You have to say, yeah, home. Your home is really great, isn't it? Tell me more about that. I would love to hear what your favorite thing about home is.
Yeah, because really what they're telling you, if you're really able to listen, is that they miss home. And so then maybe, you know, providing those things for them, or just getting to go enjoy a memory together can be so useful in that moment.
As a caregiver myself, I do want to be clear that every person is different.
Yeah.
You know, some of these techniques might not work with your loved ones. Some of them work, and I think it's important to try different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that if maybe the chicken turkey might not work with your loved one, but the home does, you know, everything is not going to work with anybody. So I just want to, you know, be clear with that you're not, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Well, okay.
You're so right, Veronica. This is not a perfect science.
Right. Exactly.
It's not perfectly, it's you have to get creative, and every human being is different. Thank you for pointing that out.
Right. And one thing I've heard is if you've met one person with Alzheimer's or dementia, you've met one person with Alzheimer's or dementia.
Yes. Very true.
Not going to be the same.
Thank you for pointing that out for us.
The third question I have here is, what do you do when someone else in the home or a relative who sees a loved one often reality checks instead of validating?
We say, get them in our workshop.
Yeah, we say get them in our workshop. No, you know, I've had that experience personally, and of course, I've told all of my loved ones about this wonderful stuff that we do. And you know, you can tell them, you can show them that these things work, you know. To expect everyone to respond and act in the exact same way to your loved one is just not realistic. And so to not expect that, you know, you can let them know in like a loving way why it's worked for you. And you know, I've had the arguments in my family of like, well, if you said it this way, or if you did it this way, and that just causes more stress as a caregiver. So just to know that all you can do is show them those experiences.
Showing is really powerful. It's just like showing rather than telling. So find an example of where you can show them that this works, and hope that they will have an open mind to these techniques.
Right. That makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah. And then the last question I have is, actually, I think I just had one more question come through. Do the redirecting techniques work when aggression or agitation is the issue? Thank you, Barbara, for that question.
Yes, so those, it can work because, first of all, keep yourself safe. You know, like if there's anything, obviously, if there's anything being thrown or, you know, anything physical, try to leave the room until it seems like it's settled down. But okay, so when we are in fight or flight response, that is when anger and aggression comes up. So that's the fight part of fight or flight. And something has triggered that, something perceived. They perceived something as threatening. We don't know what that is. And that thing is not the thing that we need to focus on. We just need to know that there was something, right? And so if you bring awareness to the senses, like I said, the brain is able to receive data that there's no threat in the environment. And that's why mindfulness works so well. And that's why Kira was saying it can work immediately, that you feel these things immediately, because you're having your brain take in data about not the perceived threat, but the mind says, oh, things are safe here. I can leave fight or flight now. Yes. So yeah.
I want to say too, that can work with, I used to work with children with different, I used to work with a lot of children, and some of them were really aggressive, and I had a kid literally spitting in my face, and we were he was fighting me and calling me names, and I said, I heard you like baseball, and his brain just goes, baseball, and he just goes, I love baseball. And he stops sitting in my face and just goes, I love baseball. You know who my favorite player is? So like our brains are really incredible. And I think like Andrea was saying, and Kira too, try it. And it can't hurt.
Right.
And maybe like you try doing something with what they're seeing, you know, tell me a color you see in the room. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds like a weird question to ask when someone's like really aggressive, but it'll kind of make them refocus and be like, why is she asking this question? But they'll answer it to you. Maybe they don't answer though. Then try to see if one of the other senses is what brings them in and helps them calm down. So yeah.
Every human being is different, like you said, Veronica.
Everyone's different, but don't write it off. Don't try one thing and then write it off. Keep trying these things and see what works for you all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then the last question is, what is the most valuable communication tool to use for those with dementia?
I think that
one, they're all so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Andrea may have frozen.
I can't hear you, Lindsay. What did you say?
I said, how do you pick one? They're all so good.
Yeah, I think
I'll let the therapist answer.
Yeah, I think that just connecting in a way where I like the mirroring and matching. So that's something that we learn. So
something that we teach in our experiential workshop is how to mirror and match a person.
Yeah, so coming in and let's say your loved one is like sitting down and their arms are crossed. You coming in and sitting down with your arms are crossed and sitting down with them face to face to have a conversation, and like really reading what's going on for them, coming in with like a warm smile. Obviously, we talk about that a lot, of like how to enter a room in a conversation. And then if you're able to connect and mirror, you're able to have a calmer, that connection is then going to build on how you're validating, how you're listening, how you're responding, and so many other things. That's something that we all really forget to do. And we all, want those connections. We want to feel, we invite you to all build these new relationships, because these people, our people are changing. And so our relationships are changing too. And so connecting in a different way, and kind of seeing it in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would encourage everyone to go to their website, stompingaroundcomedy.org, and get some more information. Actually, I just saw one more question, and it's what it is. Do you have to be a caregiver to participate? Can you just come to learn? Like, if you're not.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know what? We're gonna give you some life skills. Come on over.
We and we have actually a lot of different types of programs. So maybe you find one that's more fitting if there's a need that you have. But yeah, I mean, if you just want to come and learn. And
well, can I also say, my parents, they don't directly care for someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia, but they've asked me about our workshops because they have a lot of friends who are starting to experience memory loss and different in different areas. So they said, I want to learn how to interact with my friends better.
Exactly.
That are experiencing this. So Alzheimer's and dementia have touched the lives of so many people. And if they haven't yet, then it's possible that they will in the future. So I think what we do can really benefit anyone.
And I think, even in people who work in senior care, even if they're not working directly at an Alzheimer's unit or, something like that, but people who even just work in the community around seniors, I think this would be helpful.
Yeah, we agree.
So yeah, everyone go to their website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And I know they post a lot of classes and a lot of information there. And if you can attend an Improv for Caregivers class, make sure you do it. I definitely recommend that. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.